is Melgen and welcome to another Is It Worth the Grind video. Today we are looking at the AMX-30B, the French new tier 10 medium. As always, we are going to start off with the grind. The same as the back chat, the AMX-30B grind goes through the French light tanks. So at tier 5 we get the ELC AMX, one of the most fun light tanks in the game. Really fast, really sneaky, really good gun on this. The aiming time is quite the problem on this, but overall it's a really good gun. Pretty bad rate of fire, but 240 alpha and 170 penetration. Tier 7 on a tier 5 on a light tank is pretty damn ridiculous. Extremely good camo, so if you get a proper crew in here and get binos on this, this can be a really stealthy tank with a lot of potential to carry games. Grind-wise, there's nothing really to say. You'll want to get all the modules, but since they are not very expensive. And once we get to a 12T, it's kind of similar here. You get the downgrade in the gun. You don't have a 90mm anymore, and you won't till tier 8. But this 75mm gun on the 12T is pretty damn reasonable. It lacks a bit in penetration, but at tier 6, if you get a good matchmaking, this thing is still a murdering machine. The tank itself is quite shitty though. The traverse is bad, and it doesn't really feel very maneuverable, but the gun kind of makes up for it at tier 6. You definitely want to get the engine here as well, and the radio is pretty damn decent for light tanks, so you want to get that as well. As I mentioned before, really good matchmaking, really good camera crew can make this thing an extremely powerful tank, and the only thing you really need to watch out is your ammo count. At tier 7, we have the completely opposite picture. We have a really good platform. 1375 as a tank is really good, it's fast, it has good traverses, it feels really responsive, but you get the same 75mm gun, and at tier 7 it is quite outclassed by pretty much any other light tank in the game. If you compare this gun flat out to 1375, you just wonder what the fuck were they thinking when they put 1370 T71 in the game, and even more so, what the fuck were they thinking when they buffed the T71. There is rumored to be some buffs to this tank in the near future, but who knows, we'll see when it happens. You definitely want to get this engine as well, since it is quite a significant upgrade for only 11,000 experience, so definitely worth it. And after that you obviously get the 3090. 3090, one of the tier 8 light tanks with the highest potential, but gun is heavily RNG dependent. It's a really bad gun if you look at it. 3-second aiming time, almost 0.4 accuracy is pretty damn shitty. Kind of makes up with having 6-shell autoloader with 240 average damage. So the tank has a lot of potential damage it can do. It can take out the tier 8 medium tank in one magazine, which is pretty damn good for a tier 8 light tank. Now that this isn't the fastest of the autoloaders, so the time between shell loading is quite long, so unless you are shooting somebody who is unaware of your position, you can't really trade very well with this at all. That being said, the engine is definitely worth the grind on this, as well as it is quite the improvement over the previous one for not that much cost. And after that you can get your AMX-30. This thing is one of the better tier 9 medium tanks, as I said in my review. It kind of takes the best things about the about the Leopard prototype and the Type 61 and puts them into one package. Now that this engine is complete waste of time, for 32,000 experience you can get a lot of better things in life than an engine that gets reduced weight by 700 kilograms compared to the previous one. So don't get this, and the difference between radios is completely irrelevant, so I wouldn't bother with neither of these modules. Note that you cannot mount any of these guns or turret without having the second tracks or buying the enhanced suspension tool, whatever it's called. So I would recommend buying that and then getting both of the guns, and then probably the turret before the tracks. The turret increases view range, it increases the reload time between the shots. It does give you more hit points as well, so it is quite a significant upgrade. And after you mount the tracks, you remove the suspension enhancement for coated optics. And after that we go to the 30B. And here's the AMX-30B itself. As always, let's start by looking into the armor. There isn't any armor, of course, as to be expected with any kind of medium tank this maneuverable and fast. The only kind of armor you can rely on is in the gun mantlet, and even that one is unreliable. You have like 150 armor zones, and then you have like 300 armor zones. So it all depends on the angle of impact. As you can see, if you shoot too high in this gun mantlet, it will just act as a really thick spaced armor. So it can bounce, but I wouldn't count on this tank bouncing anything really. So I just expect to be penetrated no matter what angle you are hit in. Also, you have a huge bucket on top of your tank because fuck you, a really obvious weak spot, and you can, like, if you're fighting another medium tank hull down, if he has an accurate gun or if he's just lucky, expect to get shot in this thing before you can even see your enemy's tank. So that is something to note and something to be aware of. Other than that, there's nothing really to say. I mean, it's a no armor tier 8, tier 10 medium tank, that is. Alright, that being said, let's look into the substats. Comparing it to Leopard 1, all the substats that comes with aiming circle spread is just flat out better than the Leopard, but the aiming time is slightly worse. So it kind of, combining two of them, this gun is still slightly better than on the Leopard. On the move, this gun is going to be just flat out straight better by quite a bit, and even if you need to aim your shots more, it's still a really good gun at tier 10. You will have 8 degree gun depression, which is 1 degree worse than on the Leopard 1, 20 degree elevation, which is pretty much the standard. Note that the penetration, this is slightly lower than on the Leopard, almost by 10 millimeters. It's not that big of a deal, but it can be like a bit more RNG based, depending like lower plates of angled lower plates of E100s and shit like that. When it comes to mobility, this is slightly slower in both power to weight ratio and soft stats, so it's slightly slower than the Leopard, but not by much. If we compare it to another similar tank in this tier 10 region, then the STB1 has slightly better stats with full speed shooting while it's full speed moving, but that's because this tank is just flat out faster. I would assume the rest of the stats this tank is just flat out better. All the substats are in favor of the 30B over the STB1, but that's the thing about the STB1, because fuck you. The gun depression of the STB is also better by 2 degrees actually, so that is quite the big deal actually. That being said, I'm pretty sure we're ready to get into the replay. So here's the game. As always, before any action starts, let's look into the rest of the stats. So you have 1900 hit points, which is slightly below average in tier 10. 65 kilometers for the speed limit and 23 backwards. 720 horsepower engine. 20 horsepower ton ratio. It's pretty much the slightly slower than the Leopard, and pretty much the same as on the STB1. STB1 does get fucked over by the soft stats though, so they're pretty much the same speed as the STB1, and both of these are slower than the Leopard. 410 meter view range, 38 degree turret traverse. It's nothing really special or standing out here. 390 average damage, 260 penetration, and 6.74 rounds a minute with the standard equipment, and 90% crew. The DPM on this is pretty much the same as on the Leopard 1. It's slightly worse, but it doesn't make that much of a difference, and obviously it's way worse than on the STB1, but the STB1 gets kind of fucked in every other stat pretty much. 0.3 accuracy, 2.1 aiming time. Pretty good accuracy. The aiming time could have been faster, but as I said, the substats on the vehicle move and all that are pretty damn good, so the gun feels better for snapshotting than the Leopard 1, but you might want to aim long-range shots a bit more than on the Leopard. 8 degree gun depression, 20 degree elevation, as I said. And regarding this game, playing on Mountain Pass, pretty heavy tier 10 game, one already in the enemy team as well, so need to be cautious of that at all times. So I was kind of thinking about leaving this flank once I arrived and saw that we don't have a lot of things here, but it feels like a decent position to stay now once we have more tanks arrived and joined us, and it seems that the enemies don't have too much stuff here either. So the size 7, I didn't take a snapshot that I could have, because I really want to make the best use of the fact that I haven't been spotted yet and track him like that. and make him unable to do anything for quite a bit. He is staying tracked, so he doesn't have a repair kit. He repaired just before I reloaded, but I did get another tracking shot in there. This time I did get spotted, but the 268 fired at somebody else, so I am going to retaliate to him in the meanwhile. So equipment I would use on the 30B is rammer, vert stab, and coated optics. That's pretty damn standard for any tier 10 medium. Really gonna pick up the kill on the 268 now. He wasn't really in cover. It's kind of funny that the Artie decided to try to splash me behind the rock, or just shoot the rock, I don't even know, but knowing that it's such a Conqueror GC, I'm probably got really lucky that I didn't die there. This position also is not great. I kind of want to move, not anymore obviously since I just got spotted, but I really wanted to move away from here before the Conqueror ground carrier reloads, but I can't really get around this guy, so I am kind of stuck here now. And the 704 appears on the far side. He is aiming this way, so I don't want to fuck with him too much. Don't really want to trade 390 for 750 here at all. Know that even if I am behind cover, I still want to keep moving quite a bit because this cupola usually is too big to hide behind anything, so you want to be moving and don't want to give them a steady shot into your cupola. I'm trying to push away the corpse here to get away from this position, but it's too late. The Artie gets the WZ and I get tracked and my driver dies. It's not that big of a deal because I didn't have to use repair kit since there was no obvious threats to me at the point, but it's still a bit annoying to lose my medkit here. So now the play is either to go for the 704 or straight for the Lub and the rest of them. It feels like the 704 should get handled pretty easily by the 140 and maybe somebody else, so I'm not gonna bother to shoot him. Lava gets his shot back into me as well, which is a bit annoying. And okay, also, if you compare the AMX-30B to a Leopard 1, the important and really good thing about this tank is that you don't really get ammo wrecked by frontal shots, so you don't really have to be afraid of your ammo wreck getting damaged every time you get shot, so that is quite refreshing. Your crew tends to die a lot, the driver, especially the commander, because cupola obviously, so that is something to note. Now going for all the people down here, I am likely to meet the mouse and somebody else probably. The Conqueror probably went through the middle, so that's not my concern at the moment. So here's the mouse. That shot was just like a bit unlucky. It was a completely flat hull, but I did hit the side of the turret, so it didn't pen. Do get the track, don't get to do damage somehow. This angle looks pretty decent, but I guess since he sloped his tank like away from me, the angle of his hull is actually better than it looks. And I kind of felt like these shots should have penned, but they are not, so obviously I was wrong. And now I make a proper shot below his turret in a way better angle than the previous one, so this one does damage at least. And I'm gonna take another one exactly like that, because doing damage here is way more important than tracking him, since I am the only one actually shooting him. That was a pretty badly aimed shot there, way too much to the right. The only part where you can really do damage is either above where I shot or to the left in the middle of the back of the mouse. So the playstyle of this tank is pretty damn standard for all the no armor, good ground depression tanks. I mean, here it kind of felt tempting to jump on that fucker, but if I had failed the jump, I would have definitely like lost the game right there and then. I didn't expect the mouse to really pay that much attention to me. I didn't expect him to stop there, I guess is what I was trying to say here, because it does make a lot of sense for him to do that. Also, now the batchet, after he killed whatever was going to the hill, I think it was a 75 or whatever it was, after he killed that guy, I am obviously the next target. I could drop and go for the mouse. I could also stay here and just wait and support the batchet, support the Yak Panzer against the batchet, but I am going to drop and go for the mouse instead. This drop is quite tricky because it is quite hard to drop without losing any health, and haven't really practiced in this, so my best guess is to go for this bump here and hope that it kind of absorbs the damage here, but it will not absorb all of it. And I do lose 280 health, which is quite a big deal, even though the drops felt quite minor there. Maybe it's because I went too much to the corner of my tank. Maybe that's why I lost that much health. So this is kind of annoying because 489 hit points is just below the average roll of the mouse, so I cannot get shot at all anymore, which is really, really annoying. And now just waiting for this mouse, waiting for somebody else to go for the mouse. And the E50 does it. He was only a 2-shot and the mouse still has 1800 hit points, which is shitloads. This shot is probably not gonna pen because the side of the mouse turret is ridiculously well armored. And now I'm going for the flat hull since he's not looking at me. I should be easily be able to get away with this. The mouse does shoot the RD and the 50M pens him as well. And now I am in a bit of a dodgy situation, but he dies before I get into any trouble because we had the Waffle E100 here. And now the Jagdpanzer needs to make this shot happen to give us more chance in winning this game, and he doesn't, so he's pretty much dead. There's no support left for him up there, and since the batch has spotted all the rest of us down there, he can clearly kill the Jagdpanzer without taking any extra damage. And now the E75 coming through the middle. It shouldn't be that hard to deal with. 260 penetration isn't the greatest at tier 10, but it should be able to play a pen at E75's lower plate in pretty much any kind of angle he can give to us when he's driving at us. The E75 makes a really bad misplay to shoot there on the move. He definitely should never have done that because he gave both the E50M and me a free shot. The E50M doesn't burn, but I did. And here's another completely free shot. And the E75 is just not playing very well. If he wanted to stay alive for longer, he could have. If he wanted to do damage, he could have, but he decided to pretty much shoot twice on the move and die. I did manage to pick up a pretty silly kill there under the corpse of that other tank, and now the batch is still on 1400 hit points. He will be loaded while we arrive if he doesn't run away. It's actually a really hard game to win. It's quite likely that me and the 50M are going to both die, but we still have quite a healthy Waffle, so for us it's important to set up the Waffle for an easier kill. So the crew skills that are important with the AMX-30B, as always, Sixth Sense, obviously, situational awareness, recon, smooth ride, snapshot, all the good skills for medium tanks, and repairs to camo. I would go 70% repairs, 30% camo, and after you get some more skills, skill the rest of them out. The camo skill can be quite important, but then again, most maps in World of Tanks are closed and quite medium to close range, so it's not as important as you might seem. And here now, the last encounter, the Batched probably went uphill. If he didn't, then going uphill is just good position to counter him no matter which angle he comes from. And he is sitting up there. It's not that bad for us because he can't really run away this way. He can easily kill us both though. And here as well, a bit unlucky on my part, a bit of a shitty shot from me as well. The Batched gets really lucky. His aiming time is like 3 times mine and he still managed to pull that shot off. And now he goes for the E50, so I managed to aim this one shot and try to get away now. And luckily I was able to do that. Here the Batched is just not gonna give a shit, and there's not much I can do to survive. I do track him though, and the Waffle will pick up the kill here any second. So the game is over. I died in the end, but whatever, we win, so that's all that matters. So here's the end plate. 6,751 damage done, 1,000 damage assisted, ace tanker, 1,828 experience with premium count, and high caliber as well. Not that like the highest experience ever, but was good enough for an ace tanker. So the verdict now, is the AMX-30B worth the grind? It all comes down to really if you can handle playing light tanks. I mean, I don't like to play light tanks and I wouldn't want to grind through light tanks, so I would grind the Leopard 1, which is really good alternative for this, and this is pretty much a really good alternative for the Leopard 1, so if you like the French tanks more than the Germans, you can definitely go for the AMX-30B. It's a really similar tank to Leopard 1 with some better quality, some worse. It's definitely way better at snapshotting and not taking ammo rack damage by every shot that hits it, but at the same time you do have some weaknesses as well, like burst rate of fire, not by much but still, and also having that bucket like cupola on top of your tank can be quite annoying at times. I hope you guys enjoyed this review and I will see you on the next one.